Hello, Sagittarius. Welcome to your monthly Practically Soulful reading for April 2020. Now, Practically Soulful failure is all about grounding down some higher wisdom, some higher consciousness, knowing messages, what we know on the deeper subconscious levels when it comes to the language of soul. Now, that expresses in symbolism around us, that expresses in dream state around us, that expresses in intuitive knowing that can very naturally be blocked out when we're so busy doing the eat, sleep, repeat patterns, when we engage the mind, when we engage ego, if you even like. However, we are multidimensional beings, We are more than just a soul. We are a physical body, an emotional body, a thought body, and an energy body too. So, Practically Soulful, the intention behind these readings is to ground down those higher wisdoms, higher knowing of your higher self, and integrate that into what I call the quadrants of being, okay? So you might even transfer that into the 4 weeks of your month. It might come up as presenting more in your energy body or your emotional body or your thought body, because all of them exist within us and they require balance. They also insist upon, harmonic integration of all. So I talk a lot about that in my work as an intuitive energy healer, and the healing I do when it comes to soul ascension healing. So I work a lot with empaths, intuitives, sensitives, those who identify as on an awakening path. You can find out a little bit more about the work I do in the links below in the description box to my website and also my Facebook page. But thanks for being here. YouTube is a relatively new venture for me, so hopefully this message resonates, and if it does, would love your support and subscription to the channel so that you know every time that there's a reading for Sagittarius that is released. Okay, underneath it all, we're focused on health, Saggy, so that's very much your physical health. Maybe that is something that's going on for you right now that you are concerned about. Maybe you're experiencing a little bit of stress, maybe it is time to rest. It could be, anything quite complex or minute on the health realms. A new way of looking at health and what ultimately nourishes us into a healthy state of balance, what we're needing to help best support whatever health means for us, okay? Vitality is different for everyone, and what our needs are in regards to how we experience and feel vitality on a physical level is different. I will honor the physical vessel that enriches, enshrines my soul, Saggy. And an optimum state of health, I think I talked about this in another weekly video with one of the zodiacs. We live in a society that very fundamentally focuses on the primal levels, the 3 base chakras, okay? So when we're working with the first 3 chakras, we might be focused simply on the physical. We might be simply focused on our emotions and our thoughts, okay? These are the base layers that make our experience. But we are more than that. We are also having energetic experiences, psychic and intuitive experiences, yeah? And many of us are connected into our soul messages, soul path, purpose, all of that sort of stuff, how the role soul plays in our life. I will honor the physical vessel that enshrines my soul. This is about identifying that and, that which nourishes you on a physical level, on a health level, ultimately is what's housing, the expression of your light and your experience, of your soul. So it's about respecting that physical vessel. Yes, how we experience balance is unique to us all. Some of us might need to balance out our thought body, our energy body, our emotional body. It's quite different. So, but it is this physical being, this physical vessel, is what's housing ultimately everything else within. I do see that I'm talking to Sagittarius is that at the core of all this, they're going through change to creative expression, change to creatively viewing yourself, your path, your purpose. This is sacral chakra stuff, okay? So this is, and it's a beautiful orange. Maybe you are engaging in dancing, cooking, creating some form. But when I talk about creativity, it's not just about art. It is how we create change, how we create transformation within the sacral chakra, which is your activation point. How are you creating change when it comes to health and vitality? Okay, I feel like I'm talking to Sagittarius that might be having that as their focus primarily for most of this month, you know, and just being mindful of how stresses may come into play, how energy from others or whatever the case may be, when it's time to disconnect, disengage for the betterment of your own vitality and health and well-being. Yeah, change. I understand that nothing can grow or evolve without movement. Let's not be afraid of dissonance. Let's not be afraid of that which makes us uncomfortable, you know. When we stagnate, when we remain the same, when we are too fearful to engage change, Sagittarius, it ultimately stagnates the creative fire within that sparks that sacral chakra. We are either there's something here you need to speak about, talk about, acknowledge within yourself, just a conversation with yourself even, that is centered on creativity. And like I said, creativity can just simply be an energy essence that creates change and transformation. Something has to change here. Your relationship to creativity, your relationship to change and what it means for you, acknowledging what needs to be changed, what has recently changed that you haven't perhaps quite integrated fully. And you know what? Collectively, our circumstances have all changed, and maybe that is disrupting your health, if I was to look at it in that regard. Maybe all this time to rest, if you do find yourself in lockdown, has created amazing change for your health and well-being. Okay? It can go either way. But the crux of all of this, at the center of your reading this month, is that acceptance of responsibility, that we are the key masters of change in our life. Nothing changes unless we do. Okay? Above all this, the goal is peace. Isn't that true for us all? You want to feel peace. You want to feel balance. There's something going on within your environment, within yourself, within the multidimensional aspects of your being and your experience and perception of what you're interpreting is perhaps not creating peace, because at the base of all this, Sagittarius, is grief. There's something here that needs to be let go. There's something here that has been lost. Now, this feels familiar to your last week's reading, okay? Just the general zodiac reading. Something here needs to be grieved and let go of. And holding that, holding the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, holding the what ifs, is perhaps even blocking your ability to connect to the energy of change, or acceptance that change is needed, you know, or acceptance that change has happened. Holding on to that ultimately stagnates our creative energy, and it affects our health. Perhaps I'm talking to some Sagittarius is that due to changes in the immediate past, or due to a change in your circumstances or whatever you're going through, it's creating some form of imbalance within. I understand that losing something is an opportunity to appreciate it. So if you feel like you've lost something, whether it was a job and you can no longer work it, whether it was a connection, whether it's a way of life, and a lot of us are going through this grieving process, because our whole reality is pretty much crumbling, you know. As human beings, we so heavily rely upon the method of reflection. As we identify self, as we grow, as we change, we fundamentally live in a society that pushes us and pressures us to look outside of self. Yeah, I actually did a post about that this morning on my Facebook page. We are very rarely encouraged to truly go within, you know. Any sort of dissonance, any sort of imbalance, any sort of anything comes with a label because of something outside of ourselves, you know. And who you are, how you're feeling, even if it's something I'm saying, take what resonates, leave the rest, apply that in life, in love, in everything. I think it's so inherently important for us to truly connect into the vitality that is our divine spark and creativity, which is the key to transformation, which is the key to ascending anything, any state of consciousness, any state of being, any state of feeling about something into something else, right? We must be brave enough to let go of what anything outside of us tells us what that is, what it feels like, what it should be, what it, you know. There are no rules to this thing. All that is true, essentially. Yes, we've got a society that has frameworks and boundaries and parameters around rules and regulations, but we also have many, many years of industries defining those very three base chakra states of beings that I mentioned earlier. You know, what is it? Is it bad to be emotionally upset? Is it bad to be depressed? Is it bad to feel dissonance, cognitive dissonance, because we don't agree with something we've taken in? You know, I think we can really go as deep and as wide with all that as we want. However, definitions that we have sought from outside of ourselves will always be parameters that we can bounce off. But when they don't agree with you, Sagittarius, I think it's so important and deeply valuable to go within. Does that feel right for me? In my current circumstances, in my current state, is that right for me? How am I feeling? Is that how I feel? How do I feel about, you know, I'm so passionate about Energy 101. Truly understanding how energy moves within us. It actually touches every part of us. Our thoughts, our emotions, our physical experience, our energetic and intuitive experience. It connects us to, it connects all things, and understanding how energy moves within you, understanding how energy moves within life, acceptance of cycles, acceptance of what it takes to grow, what it takes to move and let go. You know, this is all at the center of your reading. Underneath all this is grief. The energy of grief is a powerful teacher. So too is the energy of peace. What you are, what crowns you this month, what is your highest opportunity, is a sense of peace and acceptance and coming into genuine equilibrium about everything that you're currently going through, connection, experience, lifestyle, career, otherwise, which all ultimately helps, you know, nourish you on this vitality level. In the past, I do see you've perhaps been working with issues around self-esteem. You know, now what is self-esteem? It's working with that empowerment, yes, but being confused in our fears really about what it is that we must be seeing, experiencing, creating. You know, self-esteem asks us, who am I without those external labels? Am I feeling less than based on the labels society has given me? Am I feeling, you know, and I think it all comes down to the parameters that we create for self. The perceptions we each have are unique to us. The feelings we all have are unique to us. What makes you feel like your self-esteem is perhaps threatened or lessened is going to be different to the next person, you know? What a healthy self-esteem looks like as an ultimate goal is going to be achieved through a very different path to the next person. And we address that in so many different ways. Some people want to go to the gym and get fit because they can see something tangible on the outside. Other people want to experience peace within their thoughts and their minds because that's what is a healthy self-esteem for them. Others, again, want to experience emotional equilibrium and not feel so governed by their emotional states of being. You know, it is different for us all. What esteem means, what a healthy self-esteem means, is different for us all. No different to the path of awakening. It happens in a few different ways. Saggy, you possess gifts of the soul that benefit yourself and others. You do not have to be like everyone else. You do not have to create a gauge of where you are at in your life and your experience of life and your journey in comparison to anyone else, and that's simply a construct of the society we live in. We are measurable by nature. Yeah? Values, everything, definitions, labels. And it is so interesting that sometimes the very labels that we seek to fight, we still adopt in some way. Think about it. There are groups and organizations that defy, I'm just using something as an example, hierarchy, rules, government regulations, but yet they still find no other way to operate other than within a hierarchy. Hierarchy exists everywhere. Who is your counsel? Who is your guide? Who is your teacher? Who is your deepest source of wisdom? It is great to gain education and understanding. It's no different to going to a library, yeah? Just to create some sense of boundary, structure of what is possible, but to truly engage the energy of change, okay? I'm talking about this on different levels, Sagittarius. If you really want to bust out and work with the divine essence of creative fire, which is that spark that ignites transformation, you know, the phoenix line within is what I call it in my healing work. You must get comfortable with the dissonance that is an imbalance with our thoughts and perceptions. Because when we see something, hear something that challenges us, it's challenging us for a reason. It is a wisdom teacher, as I've mentioned before. When we're feeling imbalance within our emotions, it's a wisdom teacher. There is no right or wrong in every single moment. Sure, when something becomes, and I mentioned this in another reading yesterday, I think it was Leo, could have been Gemini. Nothing is essentially toxic unless it's getting in the way of growth. Okay, there is no bad emotion unless we're holding it to a point of stagnation. No thoughts are toxic unless it's impeding growth in some way. We're remaining on this constant loop because this is about change. You're wanting something to truly shift here. So I'm feeling I need to get all philosophical and go to all corners of the existence of the consciousness that might be permeating within you. I want to say be careful of moving in, you know, into the energy of blame, because this is what's likely to happen now, what you're moving into. And it's not even, I'm saying, Sagittarius, this is what's going to happen. That's not the case. There is a temptation here to release accountability, and which is ultimately the authority that governs your life when it comes to this and when it comes to this. Yeah? Accountability is the authority that governs your perception of this. And this, I'm going to have to say it again, because when it starts to look like this, we're handing over our power to perceive ourselves and our experience in our own unique way. We're handing over our power, that we did not make choices that led us to where we are. I see there's a grief here. There is a grief, you know, and we can even blame our circumstances, okay? We can blame our circumstances for our state of being. We can blame the fact that we've lost jobs. We can blame the state of the world. However, when it comes down to the crunch, how you're feeling, you know, within every day, within every moment, it comes down to us. Regardless of what's going on out there, you know, we can be the calm within the storm. We can be the calm, deep wisdom and knowing within the unknowing. Because it's not about controlling our external environment. And that perhaps only happens when we live so commonly within the frequency of defining ourselves based on what is reflected back to us. So that's why there is this deeper thing going on for the collective at this time, when the whole world and the structures out there, outside of this, is falling away. I can't see my reflection anymore. Think of it like that. And when you can't see your reflection anymore, Sagittarius, what can you see when you close your eyes and go within? What do you feel? What do you know to be true just for this time, just for now, just for today? You know, and I've said this to many clients I've been talking to in the last couple of weeks, when I connect into the collective energies out, I actually am loving doing these readings because the frequencies I'm connecting into, it feels like genuine healing space, yeah? When I connect into collective frequencies, bigger than this healing space, if that makes sense. If I expand the, you know, the demographic outside of just people that might be looking for a reading when I do a video, because it's like a whole bunch of frequencies. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like listening, it's like seeing this and then zeroing in on a little point. And that's the people that are Sagittarius that want a reading just for this point in the timeline, yeah? When I wake up of a morning, I can tune into all of this and I'll get this vibration, this frequency, this mood, this sense. And I am more and more, and I've noticed it in the last 6 months, that it's almost like everything up here feels amazing. And you can see, feel, touch, experience what this energy feels like down here. So if I walk into a grocery store, I want to leave. It really creates a wisdom teacher for my energy field about what I'm experiencing and absorbing in the moment. But when I go outside and have my morning coffee and I can see the sun and hear nature and ground my feet and just listen, the collective energy feels amazing, you know. And I'm speaking at length about this because we live in a reality that has been a mirror. It's been a mirror, Sagittarius, and there is so much power in being able to identify what you particularly want to tune in that helps you define, understand, grow, learn, change, so that we can naturally move from states of grief into peace. And this is not the end goal either. We are continually oscillating, changing, going up and down. The energy, there is no higher consciousness that is a permanent state and fixture. I think that's completely unrealistic for us to pressure ourselves in such a way that, you know, to be on your soul path, to be on your journey, to be awakened means you must always be at peace. I call bullshit on that. I really do, because we are always navigating the human experience. We chose to be here in human form because I think if we have completely ascended and mastered everything, well, then we wouldn't be here. Yeah? We wouldn't be here. We would be the guides on the other side for the others that are here. There is no right or wrong way to do this thing, you know. Self-esteem changes throughout the ages, throughout the times, how you felt about yourself and what your challenges were in the past 10 years, yeah? And you know what? Self-esteem is such a beautiful teacher, because we can sit there and ask it. You know, would you talk to your child like that? Would you talk to your loved one like that? Do you see them in high esteem because you see the light within them? Yes. So we deserve the same gift to give ourselves. Change. It can feel really earth-shattering and unnerving, you know, and we are looking out there, and there's no longer a reflection to define who we are. We've never collectively been in this experience before. It is unprecedented. So it's only natural for our human psyche, emotions, thoughts to really go, who am I supposed to be in this moment? Who am I supposed to be in this experience? Well, you've never been here before. Welcome to something new, you know. But what you're learning this month, Sagittarius, about the weight, blame, has perhaps clouded you and your experience. How you truly have navigated and embraced the energy of change and what that means for you. How you're able to really transform, you know, what health and vitality means for you when it comes to peace and the gift of that in all moments, regardless of the storm around, regardless of change, regardless of things that are outside of our control. There is a temple and house within, and that is completely at your will and choosing, and that can remain however you want it to remain. That never changes, yeah? The moon, the page of wands, the 2 of cups, the knight of pentacles, the 7 of cups, death, hanged man, the hierophant, the chariot, the star, the ace of cups, the The Devil. I love how your reading is so contrast and is ultimately old world into the new. Now, look, there's obviously when the Moon card shows up, we are dealing with a Pisces, okay? The Two of Wands can be a fire sign and the Two of Cups is a water sign. Maybe those are relevant to you, maybe they're relevant to your chart. The Moon card encourages us to follow our intuition. There's something that's not quite right here, something that hasn't quite formulated within. The last 2 weeks are teaching you ultimately about what it is you want to master here, because it might even be something that's been permeating and developing over the last 2 weeks, Sagittarius. Like, I feel like you are wanting to master something here when it comes to your intuition and uncertainty. Perhaps you are feeling uncertain and wanting to hold back a little bit based on news about a new connection or shifts and changes within a connection. This is news, okay? The Two of Wands speaks of, but there's 22 here. So it's definitely can be about partnership. And you know what I'm going to say? Yeah, I definitely feel this whole month is essentially about partnership, connection, a chapter that has ended within an existing relationship, a relationship that has ended for some. And we're also reviewing in many ways our relationship, two binds that are obviously either toxic or not. There's an ending here that you thought was an option, is what I want to say. Okay, when the Seven of Cups shows up, we've got choice and option, yes. But I do want to say there's even been a shift and a change in mindset, in longevity. When the Knight of Wands shows up, it offers comfort and permanence, okay? And now you can apply this to anything. I feel the general frequency I'm picking up on is love and connection. However, this could be an experience, a connection, a reality that you are walking through. There might be an end to a work contract that you thought was a steady option, you know? That was one option. There was an option that no longer is an option, is what I want to talk about here. And perhaps in dealing with this ending is where you're experiencing the most challenges, you know, in the first couple of weeks of April. It's about coming to terms with that ending. It feels like something that was permanent now no longer is. Okay, I do want to say there's higher wisdoms at play for you here. When the Hierophant shows up, you are certainly awakening to seeing things from a higher view, you know, learning about the difference between esteem and blame, and the value of peace and letting go of grief, you know, and how that all ultimately impacts our health. You know, when we see things from a higher view, we're taking counsel from something much bigger than ourselves, you know. We're awakening and seeing ourselves, our situation, our motivations, perhaps what has held us back in, you know, towards change, our fear of change, our fear of progression and things progressing at a pace that we're not comfortable with, perhaps, is what I'm feeling. Because this feels like, to me, one person wanted to move fast and the other didn't. When I see this, like the Hangman he's quite happy to sit in that space forever, but it is not, within that space, change doesn't happen, Saggy. Change doesn't happen within there, you know. You might even be battling two opposing energy forces within you that desperately wants change but hasn't quite worked out what the best step forward is too. There's higher principles at play here, a higher spiritual connection, wisdom that we are mastering. Wisdom that we are mastering, Sagittarius. There's wisdom that you are mastering this month when it comes to connection in general, and how we can look at connection as something that ultimately makes us feel like this. What you're wanting is an end. You're definitely wanting an end to something. Maybe it wasn't the connection. Maybe it was an experience within the connection, or the role you played within a connection. You did want an ending though. You wanted an ending. You wanted to feel less overwhelmed with choice. And sometimes when the whole world comes crashing down and it no longer looks the way it used to, we get to connect in to our authentic truth when it comes to what's valuable to us, when it comes to connection and what it is that we want to commit to. What are you committing to moving forward, Sagittarius, that ultimately, because this is the commitment card, don't get me wrong. The Devil card is about commitment, but we can be committed to beliefs, to views, to perceptions that are ultimately toxic sometimes too. That's just the way things are. That's just the way how that will always be. We can be committed to such things that ultimately are, you know, not nourishing of growth. And that's how we stagnate. And that's how we get to a point that stagnation is ultimately making both of us feel completely bound. You can apply that principle to anything. I must keep this job because it pays well. But if it doesn't make you happy and it doesn't encourage, you know, energetic vitality on all levels, then is it really good for you just because it pays the bills? If you're a person that's seeking something a bit deeper than money, you know, same too in connection, same too in friendships, anything. Our connection and tie to our fears is what the Devil card is about, and how we let our fears ultimately keep us bound and tied away from change. They keep us bound and tied to grief. They keep us bound and tied to blame. Because of these false perceptions and heavier ways of feeling stuck, we are stuck in the definitions that we feel we need to be stuck in. That doesn't promote healthy self-esteem. Because look at how your month ends. There's this inspiration and wisdom that ultimately flushes your emotional body. That is the birth of something new. That the birth of something new is, it can be in an existing partnership. It can be a situation in your life, your career. It can be a new relationship. But you are seeing with stark clarity how this can actually ultimately have an unhealthy play or play out in your life that keeps these themes that we've been discussing here stuck and in play. It's about health, you know. And I'm just going to use this as a very quick, does that look healthy? Does that look healthy? This is codependency, this is enabling, this is allowing, this is not being authentic, this is, yes, it's a commitment. And you know, this, when I see beautiful cards with the Devil card, there's a strong, beautiful recommitment here, okay? But when I see the Devil card with other challenging cards, this is an end to toxicity, okay? To feeling overwhelmed. This might even be addictions when I see combinations like that. When I see it on its own, it tells a story of, like I said, codependency, enabling, toxicity, imbalance, that ultimately we're committing to the wrong things that do not align with soul, and they align with materialism and surface stuff that the ego approves of, yeah, but the soul hasn't played a part in deciding, you know. And the Devil heart is quite deep. The Devil card is quite deep. But there's wisdom in walking the shadows, Sagittarius. And it ultimately teaches us what we need to feel nourished, what we need to make our emotional body feel like it's overrun with what nourishes us. And it's an inspiring end to the month. You're learning a lot here about the role you have played perhaps within... Sorry, I've just dropped your health card. The role... That's a bit synchronistic. The role, the wrong form of connection to beliefs, perceptions, fears, ways of living, life, behaviors. The way how connecting into that and committing to old ways that are ultimately unhealthy, you've dropped the ball on your health and what makes you feel healthy and, you know, full of vitality. There's an ending this month that, and it feels structural, it feels really internal, and then I feel like it will also touch everything, you know, because if the whole world is crumbling down and we're wondering what our reflection is now, who are we in amongst this unprecedented stuff, then when we go in and we redefine those structures from the inside out, that is then reflected in our external reality. That is when we attract love that looks like this and not like this. That is when we find work and projects and creative project that makes us feel this, you know, rather than like this even. There's karmic balancing here at play for you, Saggy, and this is definitely some deeper soul wisdoms, and it all ties into how we above all else are our master healers, guides, intuitives. We are the authority that gets to govern everything. So if we're experiencing challenges, we go within. We go within and ask ourselves, how am I repeating patterns that are ultimately not nurturing? How is anything, you know, no emotion or thought is ever toxic, like I said, but it's perhaps only toxic when it starts to impede growth. And the deeper thing you want here is forward movement and growth. You want to move away. You inherently, intuitively sense that a chapter of you, a version of you, an old way of living, a connection, a lifestyle is over. Something has to shift and change. It's karmically balanced. Yeah, this is self-sufficiency. There is an ending to whatever self-sufficiency means for you. Do we partner up and rely on someone? Do we, you know, when it comes to love and connection, what does that mean for you to be independent, you know, and releasing ties that we don't want so that we do feel self-sufficient? Or an ending to what that means for you, yeah, on every definition too, Saggy. It's also a reflection about how much you have gained in this journey, okay? Really stepping into this. Look at her. The Empress is the Empress. She embodies the wisdom and the love, the courage and the knowledge of all the queens before her. You are alchemizing and completing this cycle, Saggy, that will see you step into this. Yeah, that's what this month is for. That's what this month is for. Getting strong clarity. Strong clarity about emotional mastery, you know, or a water sign. Strong clarity. The King of Cups is emotional mastery. And we're rushing towards, wow, look at you go. We're rushing towards this. The Ace of Pentacles. 2 aces. You are rushing towards a new beginning. You have had 3 aces show up in the cards that I've pulled today. This is huge. This is huge. Getting out of blame. Getting out of our role of feeling disempowered where we can't recreate anything, and that happens within. Redefining what vitality and health means. Embracing the potency of change. And that first starts within. Being crowned by peace and redefining what that means for you, Sagittarius. Letting go of grief. Because it really is fracturing this. It's fracturing your healthy self-esteem. Redefining connection and nourishment. And when we connect to the wisdom of the cosmos, when we balance our emotional bodies and our waters, you know, and be practical with identifying what nourishes and what we know to be true for us, all of this combined is an alchemical process that happens within, so that we do not need to seek it from the outside. That is the wisdom of the Devil card. Ruled by Capricorn. Saturn talks about structures, foundations, rules. Yeah, this is I kept picking up on this alchemical process within. Redefine the rules, even beliefs that you've held so strongly. This is a time for real transformation. Yeah, the Phoenix. This is ruled by Scorpio. This feels huge. And when you accept that as the wisdom teacher it is, Saggy, when you accept that as the wisdom teacher it is, you watch what you charge towards. This fast-moving energy. Marriage, renewal of vows, a new relationship of sustenance and substance that ultimately reflects everything that you discover in here. It's not about going out there and asking, does it resonate? Does it? Go in first and decide what that list is, and then watch it be reflected in your external. Career, lifestyle, partnership, friendships. You define it in here first, and then it appears. You call it forth via the energy of manifestation. I'm excited to see your readings over the next couple of months and how much you really harness that. And you know why? Because you are about to kick off an ecliptical cycle with Gemini. It kicks off in June. So this is going to feel like 12th house transit stuff. I said this to Gemini. Where you are, I mean, not you right now, you don't feel your 12th house transits till about October, before your birthday season, right? Before the end of October. 12th house transits invites us deep within the subconscious. We are going through deep healing. Sagittarius is currently perhaps feeling that as they approach June, because you are about to go on an eclipse journey, okay, for a couple of years. It is potent. That's why I'm picking up on all this good stuff trying to come in. But in the meantime, clear the debris, clear the old stuff, the old you, structures, foundations, beliefs. This is about graduation time. You are graduating. You are, I told you, you're mastering something. I've suddenly got this rush of energy. Because it felt heavy, yeah? It felt confusing at the start. It feels, you know, when we're working with this and this and this, it does feel heavy. But when we bravely wade through that and see it for the gift that it is and what's ultimately trying to come in, like I said, I'm excited to do your readings in a couple of months, Sagittarius. It's going to be big. For those that are brave enough to accept the call and go with that and see what they can discover within, you know, okay? Redefine whatever this means here on a heart level. Watch what permeates, watch what is then alchemically drawn into your reality. Beautiful, actually. Beautiful. Okay? I'll see you next month. And for your weekly later on this week. Enjoy, Sagittarius. Thanks for being here.